Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about tapping into our inner greatness. I'm delighted to welcome special guest Robert Raymond Riopel. Robert Raymond is an international best-selling author, app designer, entrepreneur, breakthrough expert, and trainer who travels around the world sharing his passion. You can reach Robert Raymond on his website, robertriopel.com, where he is offering listeners a free copy of his international best-selling book, Success Left a Clue. And I'll include a link in the description. Welcome, Robert. I'm so glad you could join with me today.
Oh, and Linda, as we were talking just before we started, I am feeling so glad and blessed to be here because, life happens and it's not often that I have to reschedule something, but also when it happens a couple times, it's like, what's going on? So your patience and your perseverance tells me so much about you. So I appreciate that you still have me on as a guest.
Well, I am so excited, and I'm so excited to be talking about tapping into our inner greatness. And I think if it's okay, I would love to start with your story of tapping into your inner greatness because you started with some financial not goodness and then turned into good things. So how did that all work out? How'd you figure it out?
Well, I'll tell you, it's first of all having amazing people in my life. And I don't know if people have ever experienced financial stress, but I found it's one of the worst stresses to go through. Growing up, I was taught work hard, stay loyal, even if you don't like your job. If that's what you have to do to take care of your family, that's what you do. And as I'm doing this, all of a sudden I'm 21 years of age. I'm being laid off from my third job, and I'm going, something's working here. And I realized, I look back and I go, thankfully, I learned this lesson way back then that if I wanted to have success in my life, I had to take control of it. And because of necessity, there was no real work. We were in the middle in 1989 of a kind of a downturn in economy. I started delivering pizzas, and I started delivering pizzas for a company called Domino's Pizza. I was able to go from being a driver to, because of my work habit, I became a manager. My wife became my assistant manager, and we started working hard, open to close 7 days a week. A year and a half later, my franchisee decided he wanted out of Domino's. We wanted in, and we were qualified to be franchisees, but we didn't have any money. But because of passion and my wife mainly, because to me, Linda, I would have left. I was such an in the box thinker. I thought we had to go get another job as managers for other people. And she's like, "Why don't we buy the store?" And I'm like, "Because we don't have money. That's why we don't buy the store." But we have passion, and with creativity and learning, we made a lot of stumbles, a lot of mistakes, but we learned what to say, what not to say when talking to a bank. And we were actually able to buy both the stores my franchisee had for sale, and we
Ooh.
got 100% financing from the bank to do it. We didn't even have to come up with our own money, which was awesome. And we became franchisees, which is like, oh, we've got it made. And we stumbled through success for a bit. And then we started finally understanding it, business, because running a store is one thing. Owning a business and running a business, something totally different. And
Mm.
so we learned again by a lot of mistakes. And then we started making some pretty good money. But our mindset and our upbringing, our habits were we started spending more money than we were earning. And I don't know if you know anybody, Linda, that ever does that.
No, you are the first.
No,
In fact, you are the
right?
one and only.
I knew I was unique.
No, no,
And
no, that's pretty common.
because of those habits, by the time we were franchisees for 8 years, we were over $150,000 in debt
Oh, shoot.
and stressed out, going down quickly, not doing well. And that's when we were introduced to personal development for the first time. And we ended up going to a 3 day weekend that changed our life because we learned A, why we were in debt. B, we took ownership that we were the ones that created it. There was no one else to blame. We had to take ownership. And C, we learned some practical skills on how to create the financial life we want. And we did something unique, Linda, that most people won't do. The unfortunate statistic in North America is that only 3% of people will actually use information that they've been taught. That's the unfortunate part. Yeah, I know. Shocking statistic.
Oh.
Yep. Most people, like you've got a bookshelf behind you. Most people take the information, they put it on the shelf, and it becomes shelf help. And they wonder why their life doesn't change, right? And so we made a commitment.
So shelf help doesn't help me. I need self-help?
Well, no, you need to take action. In my book that you're mentioning, this third step in my book is take action. And we decided we were going to implement some actions in our life from what we had learned. And because we did, we were actually able to go from being over $150,000 in debt to actually retiring completely financially free 9 months later at the age of 32.
9 months. You turned
Yeah,
that around in 9 months.
in 9 months.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
and our minds went, that worked. If this much information gave us that result, what would more do? And for the next 2.5 years, we became avid students, learning from every master that we could. Because one of the big beliefs I have, Linda, is I believe in not just learning one way from one person. Learn from as many people as you can and take the golden nuggets from each that work for you and put them into practice. And at the same time, I found now my passion started to emerge that I wanted to be a teacher, a trainer. Because I looked at it and I said, and here's how my dream started. And I want your audience to get this because they don't have to think that something great in their life has to start with having to be huge all at once. The way my goal started was if I could help even one person do what my wife and I had been able to do, go from financial struggle to financial success, then it would all be worthwhile. And so I started on the journey of becoming a trainer. And because of that vision of just taking one step, today, for the last 18 and a half years, I've been blessed to travel around the world several times and personally teach over 500,000 students living my passion. So that's kind of been the short version of my journey.
I would say a 500,000 people is more than 1.
Yes,
So yeah, starting with your goal of 1 and then you bumped up your number a little bit.
just a little. I added a few more zeros because zeros are just nothing. What's a nothing, right?
Wow, that's fantastic, and your wife sounds amazing. And I love the idea that, making change takes action, and that's something that's very important to me as well. And in my books and in my nonprofit charity, I include both the information and action steps, how to be able to
Yes.
take that step. Because education does not change things, it is application that changes things. And you are a perfect example of that.
And you hit it right on the head right there because and unfortunately people they don't take action because of fear or doubt or I can't do it. And that's why you surround yourself with amazing people. I will be the first to tell you I would not be sitting here right now having this conversation with you if it wasn't for my amazing wife. Because one of the gifts that she gives me, and it's a gift I give her as well, is we're not willing to allow the other person to play smaller than they are. See, if it was left to me, Linda, I would be miserable but comfortable in a job because I was taught you don't think outside the box. And so I'd be probably hating what I'm doing, but if it was giving me security and being able to take care of my family, I'd be okay with being miserable in that job. And that's not living. That really isn't. But my wife is willing, even when I'm resistant, and trust me, I can be resistant, but she's willing to give me a kick in the butt sometimes and say, "Step up. You're playing too small." And so I have great people in your life that are what I call growth-minded people, not like-minded. Like-minded is if you're complaining and you're surrounded by complaining people, you're all like-minded. Growth-minded people are the ones that are willing to pick you up when you fall, cheer you on when you're doing well, but they're also the ones that are willing to have those tough conversations and kick you in the butt when you need it.
That is brilliant. Growth-minded people as our friends. Now, not everybody is gonna be able to marry one of those. So where do we find our growth-minded people?
Well, they're always around you anyway, but you've heard the saying we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And this means the average it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially. And so a lot of people, one of the things that I've learned that holds them back from growing is they're afraid of losing friends. And when I talk about in my new book that I'm writing right now, I call it there's what's called the 4 phases of life. And the one phase is called the unclutter phase. And you've got to be willing and listen to the words. You've got to be willing to live into your greatness and let go of something that's good to get something great. Let go of something great to get something that's phenomenal. And so when you are authentically you and you're willing to not worry about losing friends, because here's the reality. When you're you, and I believe it's the greatest gift anybody can give this planet is be you authentically. Because when you're you, either people are going to like you or they don't. And if they like you for who you are, that's awesome. If they don't like you for who you are, that's awesome. Because with like 8 billion people on the planet, how can we please everybody?
We
And
can't.
so most
It's not
people,
possible.
right? And most people are wasting our time and our precious energy on the people who want us to be different. And we're trying to please them or trying to be something different for them. So that's not leaving the space for the people who truly love us for who we are. So the moment you show up and you put the energy on the people who love you for you are, some of the people are going to leave your life because they want you to be something else. But as they exit, it now opens up space for even more amazing people to enter your life, to be there, to be your supporters, to have those tough conversations. Because they're going, I see greatness in you that maybe you're not seeing in yourself. And that's why they'll show up to say, hey, you're being inauthentic. Why is that happening? Or why are you doubting yourself? And so that's how I say they're all around you, but we usually just don't have the space because we filled our space and our time and our energy with people who want us to be something different. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they're pandering to a particular group, like what we put on Facebook and on social media and that kind of thing. When we choose to put something or don't choose to put something, we're trying to please someone or some group of people.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when we do that, and we're trying to, like you say, kind of pander to their desires or their expectations, and we don't allow ourselves to be ourselves, it's sad because sometimes you might get discovered. Someone might find out that you are not all the things that you're
Right.
pretending to be. And it's really hard to try to pretend to be something else all the time.
Hmm. Yeah. And I'd say one of the greatest advice a mentor of mine gave me when I was starting to become a trainer. He said, Robert, I want whoever you are on stage, be that exact same person off the stage because you're going to meet students all over the world. And if you have to be worried about, oh, who do I have to meet if I meet someone unexpectedly? He said, that's draining. He said, the way you avoid that is be you. And so my wife gets this question all the time when someone meets her and I talk about my wife a lot on stage because she's my everything. We met when we were 13. We started dating when we were 16. We got married when we were 19, and we just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. She's my everything. And when they meet her, they'll go, "Is Robert just as quirky in real life as he is on the stage and that energetic?" And she's like, "Uh huh." Who you see up there is who he is. And I guess I take it so personally is because with what I've done and sharing the stage with so many of the top thought leaders in the world, is people would actually be blown away by who they think they know on stage when they meet. If they were to meet them off the stage, they'd meet someone totally different. And it's surprising how many of these people that are the big gurus. And when you meet them, you're like, if you get to meet them personally outside of the arena, you'd be like, who are you? What happened to the person up there? And so I take it personally that I choose to never be worried about who I meet
That's
because look,
fantastic.
this is me.
How beautiful to be authentic and to be true to yourself. Part of that includes discovering who you are and creating
Yes,
who you are. Because I have
yes,
friends that I kind of see as a chameleon type where you watch them, and with this person, they behave this way, and with this person, they behave that way, and speak this way, and do these
yes.
activities, or maybe even dress a different way because they really haven't figured themselves out yet and decided who they are and who they want to be. So I think that's kind of part of the process. It's hard to be
It,
authentic if you don't know who you are.
well, and that's it. You hit it right on the head, and be okay with allowing the process to be what the process is. Look, even today, I'm in the 52 years later. I'm still in the process of self discovery because I'm still discovering things about myself that maybe I don't like and things that I do like. Things that, oh, that's awesome. Things like, ooh, why have I been doing it that way? And every one of us is on our own journey. And that's actually part of authenticity.
Right. And that I think is very comforting. That means you don't have to arrive before you can be yourself.
Correct.
That you can be adaptable, and you are you, and part of me is adaptability, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, a number of years ago, I had some hair. Not much, but some. And today I'm now aerodynamic. So it's like hair today, gone tomorrow, right? So it's you change as you evolve. And that's what I want people to understand is I get the question all the time, why do people struggle? Why do people get overwhelmed? Is because they're so worried about what they think they have to do or where they need to go or how it's going to happen and all that they get so stressed out they forget to come back to present and be experiencing in the moment where they are right now, plain
That
and
is
simple.
incredible to be able to do that. A lot of times we use the analogy, there's a lot on my plate. And even though there isn't a physical plate, we all seem to understand what that means. And when you're talking about if I were trying to, okay, I got to please this person, I got to please this person, I have to look like that, I have to do this, that puts a lot of items on your plate. And
Yeah,
if we can let go of that and just be, and then there's space on the plate to be able to handle whatever situations we're dealing with today.
yeah. One of my favorite books by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. And one of them, the agreement says, don't take things personally because nothing anybody ever says or thinks about you has anything to do with you. It's just a projection of what's going on inside of them. Even if it feels so personal, like someone says, hey, you're so fat, that doesn't mean that what they're reflecting is that somewhere inside of them, they feel that they're fat. They feel that they've got extra weight on them. And so they're expressing it. So when you're a people pleaser, and I want your audience to understand, you're listening right now to someone who used to be a world class people pleaser. I thought I had to please everybody. And no wonder I was drained. No wonder I was worn out. And especially if I respected you and wanted you to like me, I'd become like that lost little puppy dog, like, and it would be so ridiculous that people would be like, get away from me because I was trying too hard and putting that. And so people go, well, not taking things personally, but what if someone says some hateful things about me? And I love what he says in his book. He says, and we'll go to your plate analogy. He says, just because someone puts poison on your plate does not mean you have to eat it.
Good advice.
Yeah. And one of the things too on so then some people when I explain something like that, they go, you're right, Robert. Okay. So if someone says something meanful, hateful, harmful to me, I'm not going to take that personally. I'll just listen to the good stuff. Don't fall into that trap.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that
Because yeah, that has nothing to do with you either.
no.
Just in that moment, they've liked something about you that they've reflected on the inside of themselves that they can connect with. And so they've said some good things. And this is where ego can then come in. Because if you're going, well, I'll only take the good stuff in, well, now you've opened yourself up for a deeper fall when, say, that same person who was giving you great accolades all of a sudden is in a moment of they're not happy with their life. And all of a sudden they spew poison back at you. And now, because you've been taking in all the good, that poison will take you down even harder.
Okay. So when you're
So
talking about choosing choosing who you listen to, people who build you up versus people who don't, and don't just follow people who build you up. I was thinking about your when you said your wife would kick you in the butt sometimes.
yeah,
Sometimes we don't just want to have yes people around us telling us that we're awesome and giving us butterflies and sunshine because I love butterflies and sunshine, but sometimes I need a kick in the butt.
yes,
And
yeah,
and that's just the truth because, I'm still a work in progress.
we all are. And that's why it's critical to have coaches in your life. Why it's critical to have mentors in your life so that people can see what you're not seeing. Because when you're in it, you're not noticing. So they give you that 30,000-foot view to say, here's what's working, here's what's not working. So what can we do different? And when you have that guidance, if someone wants to know how to be more successful, quit trying to figure it out all out on your own. Be willing to have the people in your life, again, the growth minded people that are willing to be there. And it comes down in all forms. I have a friend that one of our many agreements together is if something's really frustrating me or him and we need to vent, we know we can message the other person and say, can we get on a call? And if I call him and he says, yep, let's get on a call, he knows that I just need to release some energy. And he's going to sit there and let me release it. He's not going to take it personal. He's going to let me vent. He's then going to say, are you done? Are you complete? If I'm not, I'll keep going. But when I've now expelled it all and got it out of me, and he says, are you complete? And I go, yes. Then we just thank each other for our time and we hang up. We don't have to have any other conversation because
Wow.
that time was meant for just letting energy go, letting whatever was bugging us go. And the other person was there to be the support mechanism and the sounding board, so that instead of internalizing it and having it festering, becoming that dis-ease inside of us, it's like, okay, it came in, time to get it out. And it's a safe space to do that. So those are the kind of people, feel blessed to have them in your life.
That's fantastic. And you're so smart to have that process or to choose that process of here we are, experience it and let it flow through. Because if we don't, it becomes a part of us and it
Yeah.
does not good things mentally, emotionally, physically, all of the ways that it really does affect us. So I have a
Yeah.
question. You say four currencies of life and four
Yes.
stages of life. Would you mind sharing those?
Yeah. The four currencies. The first currency is what most people think of right away, money.
Alice.
And what I've realized is that there's two phases, two things of currency. Too much money in your life is something called affluenza. And if you have affluenza, you start doing silly things with your money. Like the prince out of the UAE that spent $1 billion on an airplane and 100 million re-renovating it just to have a party plane. Okay, I can think of a lot greater things to do with $1.1 billion. So too much money, affluenza. Too little money is called poverty. And when you have too little money in your life, that's when you're majorly stressed out because, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay the bills? And everybody has their zone and it'll change. It's different for everybody. Understand that based on your age, your lifestyle, your income, stuff like that. Your zone will be different and it'll grow with you as well. So, like when I was in Domino's, if I was making at least $40,000 a year, I wasn't stressed. So that was my poverty level, anything below that. Today, with my businesses and the lifestyle I have, I get stressed if my income and my investments aren't bringing in at least $200,000 a year.
Okay.
So it's grown with
Understandable.
me, okay?
Mhm.
So your zone, when you can be in it, that's when your life will just flourish and you'll be able to take those deep breaths and really enjoy life. But for me, kind of the top end, my affluenza level, if I'm now bringing in a million or more, I notice I start doing some crazy stuff.
Mm.
And I'm not spending wisely, I'm not investing wisely, and I sabotage. So everybody in the currency of money, you'll have a zone that you'll be in. And you'll experience it you'll know when you start getting stressed. And if you look at your money amount, you'll be going, that's why. And you'll notice when the top end is. So that's one currency. Second currency is something we all have the exact same amount of, which is time. Yep, time. The currency of time. Too much time on your hand causes is called boredom. Boredom blew me away. BC before COVID, I was traveling 200,000 miles around the world a year on average. And when I got locked down and now 24 hours a day at home, all of a sudden I find that I'm busier now than when I was traveling around the world. So it always shocked me when I'd be talking to someone and going that is now at home 24 hours and they're going, I'm so bored. There's nothing to do. And it's just because that's when you have too much time to get bored. Too little time causes a lot of stress. And Linda, I know you probably know a lot of people that are so busy that they get stressed out that they don't have enough time.
Yes.
And what I've learned is there's most people though, they become really good at being busy, but there's a difference between busy and productive,
Ooh.
right? And so I could come down to my current office and I could say, okay, it's time to work on my new book. And I could come down here, close the door, and I could get busy. 8 hours later, I go up and I'm like, man, was I busy? But I don't feel like I accomplished a lot. And when I look back, I go, oh, look how many times I checked social media, how many times I answered emails, how many text messages I sent. Oh, I wrote a little bit on the book, but I was busy.
Right.
So now one of the things I do is I live by my calendar on my phone and I schedule in what's called productive time. Because what people don't realize, research shows that you can only stay focused for maybe an hour before you start getting distractions.
Oh,
So when it comes to productivity, I will schedule in half hour or hour long productive times. So if I'm going to write my book, I might put 10 to 11. And from that time, from 10 to 11, I'm in the office, doors closed, no phones, no nothing. My family knows, don't try and come talk to me because in that hour, I'm going to be focused on writing the book. And in an hour of productivity time, I can outdo 6, 7, 8 hours of being busy. And so also now you free up a lot of time by just having those focused productive times, if that makes sense.
That is amazing. If you are able to sit down and turn on the productivity immediately. My husband has what I call inertia. So, an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. So it's like, I got a project. And then once he gets started, then he can't stop. And so it's more than an hour of the working, but boy, does it take a while to get started. In the meantime, I'm like,
Yes.
start, you're
Well,
killing me.
and it takes practice, and it definitely takes practice. And so I love what one of my business partners does, because he's a brilliant computer programmer, and he does social media marketing and stuff. And so he's at his computer 8-9 hours a day, but he knows that if he just tries to do 8-9 hours of work, he's going to get so distracted and again become busy. So what he actually does, he takes his phone and he sets his timer for 50 minutes. 50 minutes, and he'll start the timer. He'll get down and he'll get productive. He'll do stuff. The second that phone goes off, no matter what he's doing, he stops, he stands up, puts music on for 5 minutes, and dances around his house.
I love it.
Interacts with his dog, then sits back down, starts the timer, gets back to work, because he's interrupted his cycle of going from focus to now starting to get distracted, because he purposely put in a break. So he was able to refresh his mind, refocus, sit back down, and go at it again. So having those kind of breaks, if especially someone who's got inertia, because once they get going, they don't want to stop. So don't stop, but to be able to stay focused and be productive, give yourself a break of the mind so that you don't start getting distracted and squirreling, what's this, what's that? And all of a sudden you're unproductive, right?
Very
So
true.
that's a little tip right there.
Good plan. Okay, no more squirrels. All right, so we talked about, I don't think we got through all 4 'cause I'm so sorry, I
No,
got
so
sidetracked, but we talked about money is in dollars, and that bottom and upper level, we talked about
yep,
time. Is that as far as we got?
yep,
We got a couple more. Okay.
that's it. Yep. Number 3 is the currency of fame. And in the currency of fame, which especially with social media, everybody is so instant to try and I want to go viral. And as we've seen, fame can actually ruin people's lives. And so it's not about having the fame, it's about what can you do to stay balanced when it comes your way. And I love an interview I saw years ago with Jennifer Lopez. The person interviewing her said, look, you're a powerhouse. You are a singer, a dancer, an actress, amazing businesswoman, but you're also an amazing family person. How do you balance that? And what she said is, when I'm on stage, when I'm at work, when I'm doing songs or whatever, I'm J Lo. That's who I am. But when I'm at home with family, I'm Jennifer Lopez. And I went, wow. See, when I'm traveling around the world and I'm on stage and I'm training and I'm impacting lives, I'm Robert Raymond Riopel. But when I'm at home, I'm Robert or Rob. And I have a fun little thing that we do where it's like, because I've got assistants help me wherever in the world, they're taking care of everything. I come home, she goes, honey, you're at home. You have no more assistants. Go take out the garbage. And I love it because it keeps me grounded. Because the moment I think I'm all that, I'm done. And so with fame, it's about having the confidence versus arrogance. See, and that's a big distinction. Fame that ruins people is because they get into the arrogance, the ego kicks in. It's like, look at me. The world loves me. No, you're just another person, right? So that's the third currency. The fourth currency is the one I put most of my focus on nowadays, and that's the currency of experience. Because when it comes to experience, a lot of people are either so far in the future trying to figure out how something's going to happen every single step, trying to figure all out that they're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, or they're caught up in the past with, look what happened to me, playing the victim. Because of this, this is happening. Because of that, I can't have what everybody else has. So experience is about taking that deep breath, coming back to the present, good, bad, or otherwise. Are you willing to experience what's happening in the moment so that when it is the end of your time on this planet, you can look back and go, what a life I had. And I remember my time with them, and I remember when I was able to do that. I remember, see, that's the experience, and that's what I focus on now, is what kind of experience. And I love a friend of mine. He said when he was coaching a client, because he's first thing he does with his clients is he has them create a vision board. I'm a big believer in vision boards. That's why, in my book, the first step is dream and dream big. And while you dream big, you put it on a vision board. But he's coaching this client that he has, and he said, I noticed on your vision board, you've got a Lamborghini as your ultimate car. And he's like, yeah. He goes, what is it about a Lamborghini you really want? He could tell him all the stats, the horsepower, the 0 to 60, everything. And he said, okay, so here's a question. Have you ever drove a Lamborghini or have you ever rode in a Lamborghini? Oh, not yet. He goes, so how do you know it's what you want? Because of, he says, okay, all I'm going to ask you to do before we have our next call next week, I want you to go and I want you to either test drive one or rent one and experience it. So they get on the call next week and he said, so what'd you notice? He goes, I don't want a Lamborghini. He goes, why? He goes, I'm 6'3" and getting in and out was painful. And he said, I realized that would not be a good car for me.
Ah,
And so until he had experienced it, he only thought he knew what he wanted. So when you have a dream, find a way to experience it to see if you're on the right path. So that's a currency of experience. And so like me, before COVID in January of last year, I decided to do a mastermind because I love masterminds. And I decided to do an experiential one. So I actually flew down to Florida. 8 of my students met me there. We hopped on a private jet. We flew to the Bahamas for the day. We had a full police escort with 2 white Rolls Royces from the airport all the way to the resort we were at. We masterminded all day long. It was an experience. And so I'm now great friends with every single one of the people that were on that experience with me because we didn't just get together and go, hey, let's mastermind. We got together and we went, let's experience something together, which opened us up more that when it came time to now master our minds and share, we were willing to be there to support each other on a deeper level.
a shared experience.
Yep.
Mm,
Yep.
that is really interesting. And that
So
you
that's the
remain
fourth currency.
friends with all of those people. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's should we go to the 4 what was it, 4 phases of life?
Yeah. I use the acronym OPEN, and because we're always going through these phases. And one of the phases is something called chaos. And if you've ever noticed, when chaos enters a life, we resist. But what people don't realize is chaos is natural. We're human beings. We're meant to evolve, and chaos is how we evolve. So the first phase is called the observation phase.
Wait, you
This
said
is the time.
chaos is how we evolve?
Yes. Why do you think chaos comes in our life? Because we get stuck, and chaos comes in to give us that kick in the butt to say, let's get you unstuck. And if the more we resist it, the harder it has to come in to give us a lesson. Have you
Mm,
ever noticed when you get a lesson, if you don't pay attention, it comes again, but with more intensity?
yeah.
And if you ignore it again, it comes back again. That's chaos saying, come on, you're stuck. This is what humans are meant to do is evolve, plain and simple, right? So the O in open, the acronym stands for the observation phase. This is when it's time to meditate. This is the time when it's time to connect with yourself, dream, create vision boards. Don't worry about how am I going to do it. Just ask yourself, what would I truly love to have in my life? Mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial. What would I truly love? So when you're in the observation phase, that's the time to be the human creating what you'd love to have. The P stands for pamper. Most people, especially entrepreneurs, Linda, they miss this phase. And this is why they sabotage. See, the pamper phase is taking care of you. How are you rejuvenating you? Because you cannot give what you don't have. So if you're a person that's giving, 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 like I was when I first especially started training, first 4.5 years as a trainer, I was on stage for over 200 events, multi-day events around the world. I was at home on average only 2 days a month. And when I was on stage for up to 12 hours a day, 3 to 5 days in a row. I was so giving, I forgot to take care of me and regenerate. All of a sudden, I got burnt out, and I went through 2 back surgeries because I hadn't been taking care of my health. So the pamper phase is how you take care of you. This is when you go on a vacation or you plan a vacation. You go for a massage, you get your hair done, you get your nails done. You read a book if you love reading books. This is the time, and this is one of the reasons I love flying around the world. Because when I hop on a plane, the moment I sit in my seat for a 10, 12, 14, 16-hour flight, that's Robert's time. It's my selfish time. I don't do business. I don't connect to the internet. I watch movies because I love movies. I read books because I love to read. I do some sleeping. I eat some good food and I drink some great wine. See, because I know the moment I'm off the plane, for the next 3 to 5 days, I'm giving everything I have. So this is the time to take care of me. And so the pamper phase is critical because if you don't take your time to take care of you, you'll sabotage your success. You'll sabotage your relationships. You'll sabotage your connections. And it's not about being self-centered. It's about, as one of my friends says, being willing to be centered enough in yourself to take care of you. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. And if we
Yeah.
don't, our bodies end up demanding it and we'll get
Yep.
sick or we'll have issues.
Yeah.
So,
When I
absolutely your
when
point. Mhm.
yeah, when I herniated my disc because I wasn't taking care of myself, and before my first surgery, I was at the one point over 6 weeks in bed where I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move. And you talk about humbling when someone has to take care of your every need because you can't do anything. And I had that first surgery. I felt so great. I didn't listen to the doctor. 3 weeks later, I re-herniated the same disc, ended back up in the hospital.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, you are frozen. Am I frozen? Are you there, Robert?
I'm
Are you
here.
are
Can
you
you hear me?
back? I can. All right. It
I'm
froze
back.
for a minute. We're back. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we have
Yeah.
observation, we have the pamper, and
The
then
E stands for the energy phase. This is the time to get stuff done. When you're in this phase, do your meetings, do your emails, do your everything that needs to be done. And because you take care of yourself in the pamper phase, when I'm in an energy phase, I can pop off an 18, 20-hour day of being productive. Sure, I'm tired at the end of the day, but I'm not wiped out, if that makes sense.
okay.
Because when an energy can be short times, it can be long times. But I know that when I'm in the energy phase, because I'm taking care of the pamper side, I'm okay. So that's the third phase. That's how you get stuff complete. That's when you're productive. And then the fourth phase, the N actually stands for unclutter. It's not the first letter of the word, but it's the second because I needed an acronym that was open. I needed an N. I had to get creative. So the unclutter phase is another way of saying chaos. When the chaos comes in, this is the time to courageously destroy something in your life that has not been working. So when you're in the unclutter phase, and I'll explain why I call it unclutter in a moment, this is the time when maybe it's time to let go of a relationship, personal or business, that has not been working. This is the time to let go of, let go of an old vehicle to get a new vehicle. Have you ever noticed when your vehicle's starting to not work and you're thinking of a new vehicle, but you hang on to the old one and all of a sudden it starts having more mechanical problems, starts breaking down more, you start getting more frustrated. Well, until you're willing to let that go, the new one doesn't have the space to come in. And so that's why I call it the unclutter, because you can actually cooperate with chaos. So, as an example, Linda, have you ever gone to your refrigerator, opened it up, and all of a sudden you're like, I should probably clean some food out of here? It's getting, right?
You caught me totally.
Right? So, by courageously volunteering to unclutter your refrigerator, or I come down to my office every couple of weeks, I unclutter my office, I straighten it up. You're now showing the universe, showing God that you're willing to cooperate with what's going. So that means you're evolving, which means the chaos doesn't have to come in and hit you as hard because you're cooperating with it. And when it comes to destroying something, one of the biggest things a person can destroy during the unclutter phase is a non-supportive belief that they've been holding on to that is not serving them. Because our mind wants to be right. So we hang on to those beliefs. And that's why proof is a cure to all doubt. So if you're noticing there's a belief that's not serving you, go to prove, find a way to prove that that belief is not the real belief. Change it. And I have a friend who says this, and I love it. He says, instead of being willing to live life, courageously allow life to live you. You see, when you're in these phases and you're embracing them and you're utilizing them, as soon as you go through the unclutter phase, it puts you right back into the observation phase, which allows you to even dream bigger, have more clarity on your life. And you're going to go through it fast and slow sometimes. You have no control of how fast you're going through the phases. Your relationship can be in one phase, your health can be in a totally different phase. But when you understand them, and all of a sudden you go, I'm in the pamper phase. No wonder I've been feeling a little tired. I haven't been taking care of myself. Okay, time to just sit back and relax for a couple minutes. I love to go for a walk after 2 back surgeries. Walking is what gets my back feeling better.
Oh, fun.
So part of my pamper phase is I go for a walk and I'll put on some good music or I'll listen to some podcast while I'm walking. And that's one of the ways I take care of me. So you get creative on how you want to use the 4 phases.
Love that. And that kind of creates a cycle like a wheel to keep you moving forward. That's
Yep.
quite beautiful. Well, thank you. Thank you for what you've shared today. And thank you for joining with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure. I know it went a little more than half an hour.
No worries. It was all excellent information. So I'm super happy.
And any way I can be of service, you let me know. And you mentioned it at the beginning, and I'll say to your listeners, because you were so gracious to have me on your podcast, if they do go to robertriopel.com, they'll be able to download the digital copy of my book, Success Left a Clue, as a gift. But it is a workbook. It's not something you read and put on the shelf as what? Shelf help. You actually, because of the action steps I put in there, I would love for people to actually take the actions, do them, and watch how that unfolds.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. In closing, I'd like to share a quote from best-selling author Robert Sharma. He said, "Don't accept a life of mediocrity when you hold such infinite potential with the fortress of your mind. Dare to tap into your greatness." Today, I invite you to do one thing to tap into your inner greatness. See you next time on Linda's Corner.